Just so you know, they have notes, so look out.
Stand behind the pulpit.
You can stand behind the pulpit and turn that mic off. You can, for real. You guys just wait a minute. First thing I want to do, and I do want to open up my iPad first. As we do this, we talked about this way back in January and also in December, both with the leadership team and obviously the finance team. And one of the things we want to start doing at Grace Church that's kind of new is we want to introduce a budget each year. We're going to do it earlier next year. We should have done it earlier this year, but calendars and everything getting where they are, this is the Sunday to do it. But we want to introduce a budget. It's not about making sure that you guys get hounded for money. Don't go there. And if you're visiting with us today, you hang in there. This is just what we do. We don't need you to help. You just get to enjoy the day. And we're glad you're here. And come back. But we just want people to know what it costs to operate this ministry financially. It's also a lot deeper than that. That ministry behind Tom and Terry, mainly voluntarily, because a couple of people said, we used to have a puppet ministry, and children like to do it. Praise God they do. So they said, we're going to do it. And now you see what's happened over the last 6-8 months. Right there. Voluntarily. Wednesday nights, those meals, voluntarily. A lot of stuff happens around here voluntarily. But we also need finances to make it happen. And so we're going to introduce that with you. But before we do that, I went in with the help of Terry and Tom, and there's many of you here. We approached what I call one of our pillars, just one of our pillars. A lot of pillars are here. And you pillars, you know who you are. And we asked this one pillar, Pearl Heike, to come into the church and just give us a little testimony why she chooses to give her money to Grace Church. We can give it anywhere we want. We can put it into all kinds of things. I fight this battle all the time, but Pearl is a pillar of the church like many of you. She's one of many pillars, and she just gave a brief testimony why she chooses to do that. So I'm just going to play that right now. Is that correct, or is David going to play that? David's going to play that.
Sunday, I come here for spiritual blessings that are provided by music, prayer, and the pastoral message. The fellowship of other Christians is important to me. Every month we have Holy Communion. We worship in space prepared for us by our forefathers over the past 160 years. But now our generation must provide for the expenses of heating, cooling, the cleaning and upkeep of the building. We need to provide salaries for leadership of the church by the pastor, the office and custodial staff, as well as buying cleaning supplies and office supplies. Through our support of the Minnesota Annual Conference, the district superintendent and the missionaries are paid. We need to provide literature for Sunday school. I want to continue the good structure that we now have in place. Each week I look forward to coming here. In 2 Corinthians it says, God loveth a cheerful giver.
And thank you, Pearl. I really do appreciate that. I had to really talk her into it because she does not want to make a scene. But I'm very grateful that she did that. So we think of all the things we've accomplished, and for me at Grace Church, it's a lot of things. It's just recovery night, if you ever get a chance. That is an amazing ministry. When I look at that, I go to the U-Zone. I drive by the U-Zone all the time, but I usually go and have one of my couple of weeknights. I work out right about the time that kids are coming out of school, out of the high school, middle school, because I'm right there, and I'm running on that machine, you know, having one of my mini heart attacks, and I'm looking out the window, and here I see these kids, and I know exactly where they're walking. They're heading over to the U Zone. And I pray for them. I pray for Ariel, others, Jones here. They're heading over to the U Zone every day. And those are things that we've accomplished thanks to somebody like Linda Jensen. I remember when I was at Litchfield UMC pastoring, and I learned about this through Pastor Rick Kane, and I thought, wow. Our bus. You know what? You want to make us really upset? To have Carrie have to get 8 minivans together every time there's a youth event and get all of you to volunteer to drive. That's not cool. And I know we'll take care of it. I know we will. Because that's the way we are. But every time I just go out, I have a bus license, started, or some of you, where's Richard? He's driven. Neil's driven the bus. Some others, I'm missing you. You get out there, we don't have to worry about it. Boom. That goes. These are things that are just a few of the things that Grace Church has accomplished over the years and will continue to accomplish. It's an expectation because we do things well. But there's more to it than that. And I'm going to ask Tom to come up with that scripture verse, I can do all things through Christ. He's going to give you a little bit of his personal testimony, what has and what to come also. You got it.
Is this one on too?
You can turn it on. Yeah. I don't think that's your thing.
That's not my thing.
Okay.
Bob stole a lot of my thunder. He asked me to write something up or give a little talk on why we choose to give to Grace Church. And the main word that came to me was gratitude. We're grateful for our church, not only the building we're in here, but especially our Grace Church family. We're grateful for God's blessings in my life, grateful for the missions of Grace Church. I grew up in this church. I attended Sunday school, went to youth fellowship. Nancy and I were married here. Our daughters were baptized, confirmed, and attended Sunday school, Vacation Bible School in YF. And our daughters were married here. There are so many activities happen here because we, the family of Grace Church, give. Some of them are the ministries for our kids, Sunday school, Vacation Bible School, youth fellowship, Wednesday night suppers for kids and adults throughout the school year. We support Carrie Schaefer as our youth director. With Carrie's leadership and the help of her mom, Vicki Frank, we have returned to the Gumpets. We are blessed with the participation of Sunday school and YF kids in programs at Christmas this year and for Lenten season. The U Zone, Bob already talked about them, and add a little bit. I heard this week that we are nearing capacity at the U Zone of between 20 to 25 kids some nights. So that's pretty amazing. Camping ministry, providing scholarships so all kids can attend and grow in their relationship with Christ. Chow Mein Supper, inviting the community to Grace Church. The mission trips that a lot of you have been on already. The recovery mission on Tuesday nights. The men's Thursday morning breakfast, the ladies and women's circles, community volleyball that Bob and some of you are involved in. It's a way to connect with the community. Prayer ministry with the first responders in our community and sharing a meal with them as an expression of our gratitude. We host many weddings and funerals. We have men and women serving on committees to help serve meals at funerals. We have a beautiful Christmas services, a Palm Sunday service, and Easter service. And a new mission opportunity will begin towards the end of May with Pastor Bob. Will begin a Saturday night service to be held at Lake Coronis. I'm going to pray for that. And finally, that's not finally, but one of the other things that's dear and dear to my heart is UEC. You've heard Bob talk about it. Several Grace Church members have experienced this, including Nancy and myself. It is truly a blessing. Pastor Bob and Kelly, Eileen Werner, Ramona Frank, and her daughter Judy Schultz, and Bill Heft have all been through this. And each one of you has a chance to do this. It comes up in what, July? July and probably next January again. So if you're interested, talk to one of us. It is truly a blessing. Yeah. We give to keep all these things going and growing, just as our parents and grandparents did before us. I am grateful that I grew up in a church that truly cared and provided opportunities for me and continue that support for my daughters so that we can grow in our faith and our love for Jesus. Proverbs 11, verse 24 says, "Some give freely, yet grow all the richer. Others withhold what is due and suffer only want." So thank you, Grace Church, the church family, for your support of our church. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Now, Terry wanted to save himself the best for last. Just kidding. That was me. You were not. Terry is our finance chairperson, our leader on the finance team. It's a good team. But he's just going to introduce to you, if you haven't seen it already, what it takes to operate authentically, not because we have to. I don't even like that word, not because we're going to make cutbacks. Because when you start cutting, you start closing. But what it takes to operate a ministry of Grace Church.
Thank you. First off, thank you, Tom, and thank you, Pearl, for your very inspirational testimonies and heartfelt feelings for Grace Church. Your love for this church really shows. Tom has enlightened us with the many accomplishments and services of our church, some present, some past, and of course the future. All are made possible by you, the members of Grace Church. The hard work and prayers of those who have gone on before us, as well as the hard work and prayers of those of us today, will keep Grace Church going for many generations to come. And now with that, it's time to take a look at this little insert labeled Grace United Methodist Church Budget 2018. We, your finance committee, felt that it is your right as members of Grace Church to know how your donations are being spent, your hard-earned money. We're not sure why this didn't happen in the past, but I can assure you this is going to happen in the future. It's your right to know how things are being, how your money is being spent in this church. This budget, although only 2 pages, front and back for you out there, really started with 33 pages of a lot smaller print.
Yes.
I didn't think it was quite appropriate to start printing out all 33 pages and get questions from all 33 pages, to be honest with you. Each category is a function of Grace Church. And starting from the top, we can start with the apportionment. And with that, I'm going to turn that over to Pastor Bob to explain, as he can give us a more enlightened view of what the apportionments is all about.
Okay. Thank you. Hey, this budget is what it takes, the financial part of our ministry. So don't just turn this budget into the only thing that Grace, I'm going to jump in front of you, Tom, that Grace Church has for us. It's also voluntarily. And we help as we can. Some of us, the pillars, we can say, oh, we can help this way. Some of us, we're barely surviving. That's where we're at in life. We're going to help as we can. But we're all at different places in life, different seasons. And those seasons match up financially, too. And we need each season, myself included, to help. And so I just lift up the fact that we're not just one non-denominational church. We're a part of a huge movement. 7 million people, I'm not making that up, 7.1 to 7.3 million people across the world are United Methodist. You go down to Houston, Texas, and there's Moody United Methodist Church, named after a banker down in Galveston we saw when we were down there. You go to Cocoa Beach, Florida. I've been there a number of times. It's a wonderful place. I highly recommend it, especially for the surfing. But you go to Cocoa Beach, Florida, and there's Cocoa Beach United Methodist Church right on the sea drive there. That's a neat church. That'd be fun to pastor. No, just kidding. Anyway, right on the sea drive. Cocoa Beach United Methodist Church. I walk in there on a mission trip from Hurricane Andrew back in the mid-90s. I walk into the Church of Youth. We stay overnight. They greet us with the United Methodist Flaming Cross. The reality is, all over the world, Africa, Asia, Korea, we're connection. We're not alone. I needed a puppet stand because, don't get me wrong, what Linda Jensen did was great. It used to be over there. And last, I believe, September or so, I said to Vicki, I said, you know anybody that owns a lumber yard? And she smirked, and I said, we should get a new one. And she said she'd take care of it. Yeah. That's called being connectional. We're looking at a new bus. I'm not making this up. I called a United Methodist Church in Wyckoff, Minnesota, southeast Minnesota. Used to pastor there. There's a company down there by the name of Thompson Motors. They sell big international Freightliner Kenworth Peterbilt trucks. I called the owner. He's part of the Wyckoff United Methodist Church. I said to him, hey Rod, Pastor Bob, oh my gosh, you're still around? Anyway, didn't say it that direct. I said, I got to get a new bus. He said, you call this guy, Bruce. I called Bruce down in the cities. He said, we'll take care of it. You hear me? Connection. It's connection. I want to do it this way. There are a lot of apportionments. I can show them to you in detail if you want. I really can. There are times every year that I go to annual conference, not making this up, and they list all the things our apportionments support. And there are things I don't like. I don't even want to support it. But you know what? My United Methodist roots are much greater than my temper. Did you hear me? And we're connectional. I want to share this. One time I was with a pastor who did not want to pay apportionments one year. I was with that pastor for a very short time. They had the money. They were one of our larger churches. Privately, I said to that pastor, as young as I was, I probably shouldn't open my mouth, but I was upset. Why not? Because I don't agree with it. And I looked at him, probably shouldn't have said this, but I said, well, then why are you getting health insurance this year? Are you hearing me? We are connectional. Our United Methodist denomination is big enough we're not going to agree all the time, I promise you. But we will be connectional. I always will be connectional, and we will be too. Because there's a lot of people out there that depend on Encore. There's a lot of people out there that depend on all the things that we support in the world. And so that's where these apportionments go. They trickle down into 7 million people. And then they go out and they help billions because we're connectional. So that's a help with apportionments.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Next off, we have what is called spiritual growth and ministry. You'll see a couple of green areas in there, and you'll go, wow, we're not going to fund the Sunday school? No. What we are going to do this year, and probably for years to come, is we have what is called the Sunday School of Count over at our foundation, United Methodist Foundation, which is basically fund account. We get dividends and interest off of that account, and it's been building for many years. And we basically haven't used much of it, or if any of it at all. And it has a substantial amount in it. So we're going to fund these green areas through that account for this year, many years to come maybe. We will be drawing out as needed and leave the rest in there to grow. We felt as a committee now is probably the time to start using some of this, because what's it there for? I'm sure the people who have made the memorials, who went on before us and donated this money, they didn't want it to just sit there, gain interest, gain dividends. That's wonderful, but does it do any help for us? No. So that's where that's coming from. Going down through it, we have fellowship, family fun nights. We have ministry promotional expenses. I think If you want to know more about these, ask one of us. Ask Diane Fuchs. She kind of leads this up. We will also be funding this ministry. Under this ministry, we have the Healthy Church Initiative, basically. And the funding for that we will also be taking out of a United Methodist fund account over at the foundation. It's called the estate account. Again, it's been memorials given to that account to be used by the church, and we felt that the Healthy Church Initiative is a good place to start using it, because that is meant for the growth of this church and for the unity of this church. Next off, we have the staff parish relations. Actually, most of this, or all of this, is our paid salaries throughout the church. It's a big expense. It's a much-needed expense. As Pastor emphasized, we start cutting. Things just die. Next off, we'll go to the trustees. It is what it is, folks. We have to maintain what we have. We can't let the buildings fall apart. We got to keep it warm in here. We have to keep it insured. Lights on, heat's on Sunday, and it's not on only for Sundays, folks. This place is active many times, 6 and 7 nights a week. Go down from there, we have the administrative services, and you go, holy cow. How can we spend $13,520 on that? Well, there's many more pages due to that, and you wouldn't believe what it takes to run an office. And that's pretty much what all this is. It's office expense. I'm with you when I look at it, probably. Wow, does this take a bunch of money? We'll work down through worship, music, arts, and ministry. Pretty much self-explanatory. And then we come down to a little one there, the outreach ministry, $375. And that basically is for our prayer partners. The ambulance and the fire department. It's basically there just as a fund, a little bit of a fund to maybe back up what is not coming in for our supper when we have it here in a week. So with that, we come to a total budget of $283,594 a year. Summer's over $5,400 a week. It's tough, folks, but we had a tough year last year, and we ended up the year we paid all our bills. Just look around at each other and thank each other for that. We get it done. I guess at this point, would like to personally thank each and every one of you. As Tom probably stated, he had 2 daughters baptized here. We've had 2 daughters baptized here. I've seeking support from our pastor, Bob now, Pastor Rick in the past. I don't know what I've done without them, but they're here. They're here to listen to you. I think you should, each one of you, just look around at each other and thank each other. Because as one, we're not really a church as one. We're as a group here, each and every one of us, we are the church. So thank each other for the support that you get. Above all, thank God for the opportunity to do His work through Grace Church. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. I want to close with a simple verse, but I want to do that in prayer. But remember, it's a great verse to commit to memory. It's a great verse that